Wales. It's lovely there, isn't it, Nicky?
Beautiful.
So much so that Joe Kальзаге loves being at home. In fact, tonight he is away from home in a pro fight for the first time ever, outside of Britain, that is.
Yeah.
What difference?
Well, Joe doesn't like being outside of Wales, say outside little Newbridge in his training base. He's very much a homeboy. He's got 3 kids.
Big world out there, you know.
It's a very big world, and I think that I had a glimpse of him in the change rooms earlier. He looks a little bit nervous. I mean, I'm sure he'll perform well. He'll be determined to put on a great performance. I'm sure he'll do very well. But he is nervous, doesn't like it.
Do you feel the vibe that you get from the camp, his father Enzo, who's always been so close to him, that they have made a breakthrough even before this excursion to Denmark?
Yes, they have. But now it's just making sure that he looks good. He's boxed really, really well in his last 3 fights. He was starting to stick the place out, you know, after the David Starry fight. People were talking Joe Kальзаге down. He changed it, turned it all around with a few really brilliant performances.
Joe in the dressing room here. What is in his mind tonight about how important it is for him to make this mark to the worldwide audience?
Well, Ian was just mentioning then, you know, they're talking about the long-awaited American performance against David Reed, the Olympian. You know, he's got to look good. It'll be nothing if this looks bad tonight. Barry,
do you feel that between them, Enzo the dad and Joe the son, a much criticised partnership a while ago, have proved something?
Yes, indeed, they have. And you know, Nicky was talking about sort of being parochial, and I know he likes it, but remember, he's considered in the trade the undisputed super middleweight champ. He's got to start thinking on a worldwide basis. He's got to start moving away, and him and Dad's got to go elsewhere.
What about the job they've done to turn his career around?
They've done a great job. He looked lacklustre against Rick Thornbury, David Starry and Robin Reid, and then he turned it around with that marvellous performance.
Because you know what they were saying, Barry, that this is an amateur setup and it doesn't belong at the very top of the game.
And I don't think those rumours or those suggestions or those allegations have gone away. And he's got to prove to us that he's moved on to another level, because that's what he's got to show tonight. Frank Warren talked about, it's not just about winning, it's about the way you win. And remember, Showtime are looking, we had Jay Larkin on saying, we want to feature this guy in America. We want him to be a big impression, make a big impression. He's got to do it in style tonight.
Last time out in April, Jim, was there anything wrong with this Calzaghe performance against Mario fight?
Well, in a first-round victory against a mandatory challenger, you don't really get much time to criticise.
It pleased even you then, did it?
Yeah, I thought he was superb. I thought Joe's been superb for the last 18 months or so. I think he's had a lot of hand injuries in the past. I think he opened his mouth too often and told people he was the best, but he wasn't proving it when the time came. But he certainly proved it that night and the couple of fights before that. He's a different man altogether, much more confident. And I think it's good too that he's boxing abroad for the first time, but not in the States. I think he's putting his foot in the water. He's used to boxing abroad. That was a tremendous performance. This, as I say, is the mandatory challenger. Excellent record, unbeaten. Everybody thought this would be a tough fight. Some people were putting money on fight before the fight because they thought he had a good chance of outboxing Calzaghe. Total domination.
Swept away in 1 round. And after that performance, for you, where did Calzaghe stand worldwide? After that,
Barry is the best super middleweight. Unfortunately for Joe, he's missed the golden era in the super middleweight division. There are no real top-class Americans to make exciting fights at super middleweight. Roy Jones, obviously, at light heavyweight. Hopefully, maybe Bernard Hopkins would come up. I don't think that will happen. But there are no massive fights for Joe, and that's the big problem. But in this fight tonight, he must look good. He must sell himself to the States. Frank Warren was tearing his hair out a couple of years ago when he had him live on American television and he was boxing so poorly. So this is another chance against a guy who he can look good against. This fella should be fairly tough, but Joe can look good against this guy.
Nicky, has he been getting there by degrees? You look back to the previous performance against Richie Woodall. Was that in itself a step up for Calzaghe in the way he did the job? Because Richie was good that night, wasn't he?
Richie was very good. Richie's always very good and trains very, very hard, always prepares well. He knew Joe a bit as well from the amateur days. You know, they knew each other well, good friends. But he was ruthless in his performance. His fitness was really, really top draw. His accuracy, everything was perfect about this. And as Barry and Jim have already said, after the Starry fight, you know, he did box so badly. They moved to London and trained for 3 or 4 weeks. They got out of that small gym mentality, and they knew they had to impress with every fight.
By this stage, for you, and you've known Calzaghe for years, where was he making the difference in his actual work on the night? What was the different thing about the performance?
I think it was the mentality of the man. I think he knew he had to go out and impress. I mean, he's always been very fit. He's a tremendous natural athlete at all sports. But he knew mentally it wasn't about winning, it was about how he won. And I think that's got home to him now. And I think that's why we see such an impressive performance tonight.
You know, he looks like he's just slapping here with these punches. But let me tell you, every single one of those carry concussive power. He's a very solid puncher. He takes a great shot on the chin. We've seen him over and over again, smacked on the chin, showing his durability and so on. And he's got a good-looking kid. He's a good talker. He's got it all. He's actually moved on to another level in maturity. He's actually grown up, and his preparation needs to be better.
And I think he uses those fast flurries to confuse his opponents, and then all of a sudden he'll go unleash a few really hard shots.
Exactly, his pitter-patter.
Yeah, but I also feel like some of the bad performances were down to bad hands. I know we don't want to hear about had bad hands, making excuses, but he did. And some of the little pitter-pat punches against Robin Reid, he wasn't throwing hard enough punches to discourage opponents.
Jim, I think he had knuckle trouble. I think we can get into Joe's dressing room. And Adam Smith is waiting to talk to him. Here he is.
9th defence of your world title, a massive stage for you to shine on, Joe. It's your defining moment, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to, obviously, as you can see, I'm focused on the fight now and ready to do the business again.
You've been very, very relaxed all week. What do you expect with Will McIntyre?
We'll soon find out now, any minute. I'm feeling good, sharp, quick, punching hard. Basically, I'm in here to do a great job.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Thank you, Joe.
Nicky, do you get the idea that Calzaghe is aware of how big a test, I'm sorry to repeat it, but to the wider world this is for him? What an opportunity this is for him.
Best of luck, Joe.
Of course he does. And he's no fool. He knows this is his living. He's earning good money, has done for the last 4 or 5 fights, really good money. But he knows if he wants to jump up into the millionaire status and get 1 or 2 million for every fight, he's got to look good.
Maybe in the long run, if this does become the great saga of Calzaghe's brilliant career, Barry, there is one night which will stand out as the night when things did turn around in his favour against Omar Sheikha. It had resonance because it was a rated American opponent.
Absolutely.
Did that bring out the best in Calzaghe?
Yeah, no doubt about it. He had been slated by the press. He had 3 previous fights that I talked about. He just didn't shine. He looked languid, he looked disinterested, he just didn't look good. He was all mouth and he hadn't produced anything. Suddenly on this one in Wembley, the Wembley Complex Centre, he turned it around. This guy came right at him and he said, well, OK, come on at me, son, I'm going to take you apart. And he did. He absolutely looked fantastic.
He stood
His
up to the
punches
plate,
were great. He stood right in front of right in the firing line, took good shots and came back. And his punches were crisp, hard, accurate. And he took Sheikha apart. He would have knocked him out, no question about that. And that was a turning point. Then he's produced the Richie Woodall fight since and the Mario Veit fight. So he's on a good run.
Jim.
See, I think in Joe's bad performances, he was complaining about opponents' tactics, as though opponents are going to come into the ring and do what Joe Calzaghe wants them to do. I think now he's realised he is the man under the spotlight. He is the man who has to produce. So if an opponent wants to be negative, if he wants, whatever an opponent wants to do, Joe has to cope with that and be attractive doing it. He is the attraction, so he is the one the pressure is on to be attractive, and I think he now realises that. He goes out and makes things happen, doesn't wait for them to happen.
Looks like quite a test tonight for Will Kid Fire McIntyre. The problem with this fighter is that he has had real problems dealing with the occasion in the 2 big fights of his career previous to this, Nicky, against Omar Sheikha early in his career and more recently against the rated Dana Rosenblatt. Is he going to deal any better against Calzaghe?
Well, apparently the fight against Sheikha was a really close affair over 4 rounds, but only 4 in the beginning of Sheikha's career. But against Rosenblatt, he admits he froze and lost every round.
Calzaghe is your man, your last word. What are you expecting from him tonight?
I'm expecting a very, very fast and furious 1st round win.
Thank you. McIntyre's on his way. Glennon here.
Thanks, fellas. Here he is then, the red-headed Will Kid Fire McIntyre. Says he was picked on when he was a boy because of that red hair. Got into a fair few scrapes. Left school at 15, but like so many, found a kind of salvation through boxing. Otherwise, he says he's not quite sure how things would have worked out. But he got the phone call only about 3 weeks ago at his home in Covington, Louisiana, which is a commuter town near New Orleans. So late that his dad, his family, haven't been able to get over here to see him because of the obvious problems with Americans flying just at the moment too. He's only lost twice, to Omar Sheikha, one of Joe Calzaghe's victims, and to Dana Rosenblatt when he says he simply got stage fright. Glenn, he says that won't happen tonight.
Well, there's so much more at stake tonight. He can't really have, and obviously the first attempt at something bigger, it can be a bit scary. He's been through that before. He obviously knows what went wrong. He's got to try and change that now. He's got to try and be the best he can be. He said he's got nothing to lose. You know, an awful lot riding. and resting on him, and he'll want to be as good as he can be. But it's how he starts. It's so important if he's allowed to get into the fight. If Calzaghe doesn't start quick, if he gets in the fight, then he could be tough.
Starts as an underdog, what most people would against Calzaghe, who's generally regarded now, both sides of the Atlantic, as the #1 super middleweight in the world, which is a big tribute to him, but he does need a defining fight, Calzaghe. Can remember late substitutes, though, coming in and causing huge problems before. He has nothing to lose here. Joe Calzaghe is on his way. His team with him of his father, Enzo Ernie Fossey, there, the former coal man. Frank Warren's right-hand man doing the cuts there. Brian Powell there as well. And Calzaghe, he's got a few supporters around too from Wales, and I think he's been feeling mean, you know, very mean. What do you think?
I think he has. He's had to struggle a little bit with the weight. I mean, he's done it, he was still inside, but I think that sort of thing, that gets you mean. You know, that gets you psyched up. You've really got to work hard. And even if he doesn't think the opponent's that good, just by fighting the skills, you get yourself right.
Well, he's not top of the bill tonight, but the American TV people say and insist this is a top of the bill as far as they're concerned, because they want to really project Calzaghe in the United States. He's been on before over there. Sometimes he's impressed, sometimes he hasn't. Julius Francis, quick final word from you about Joe Calzaghe. What do you expect from him here?
Well, today I've seen Joe. He's been very relaxed. I expect a very quick start, as he normally does. It's going to be a tough fight because this McIntyre comes to fight. But Joe, I've got every faith in him. He's got faith in himself. He's been very relaxed. He was the one that was goading McIntyre yesterday at the weigh-in, and I think Joe is very, very up for it.
So the tail of the tape for this fight looking like this. Calzaghe 3 years older at 29. McIntyre's a little bit taller, not very much. Reach advantage, none at all. And both of them half a pound inside the 12-stone weight limit here. Calzaghe always struggles to make it, but seems to be effective enough. And Calzaghe, a pro now for 8 years, McIntyre since 1996. They both had 31 fights. Calzaghe at a much, much higher level. This is a huge step up for the American. Make no mistake about it. Look at the bottom there. 83% stoppage rate for Joe Calzaghe against 41% for McIntyre, who for most of the time, if we're honest with you, has been fighting Southern club fighters. So he can't afford anything to go wrong here, Big Joe. I think he's mellowing and maturing as a personality. I think he did the best press conference I've ever seen him do the other day. He came across with real personality, and I think a lot of the writers took to him for the first time. I sense that.
Ja, mine damer og herrer, så byder Bettina Palle, American Present og Showtime Network velkommen til et kanonpublikum her i Parken i København. Rigtig hjertelig velkommen.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us around the world, we welcome you to Parken National Stadium here in beautiful Copenhagen, Denmark. At this time, we present a World Championship attraction that is brought to you by Bettina Palle and Frank Warren's Sports Network in association with Showtime Networks.
Og denne kamp er godkendt af World Boxing Organization, Dansk Professionel Bokseforbund, V.S. Andreasen. Og dommerne i denne kamp er, mine damer og herrer, fra Danmark, Torben Hansen, fra England, Dave Paris, og fra Belgien har vi André von Rotenbrühl.
This bout coming away is sanctioned by the World Boxing Organization, the president, Francisco Valcarcel, supervisor in attendance, Charles Giles, along with the Danish Professional Boxing Association. Introducing to you our three judges scoring from ringside. From Copenhagen, Denmark, Torben Hansen. From London, England, Dave Harris. And from Brussels, Belgium, André von Rotenbrühl.
Og mine damer og herrer, kampledermanden, der skal dømme denne kamp, han er fra New Jersey, USA. Hans navn er Rudy Battle.
And our referee in charge of this bout, working in this, his 97th world title bout, Rudy Battle. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship of the World.
Og her, mine damer og herrer, i det blå hjørne, med en vægt på 76,3 kilo, omregnet til 168 pund, og en rekordliste, der lyder på 31 kampe, 29 sejre og kun 2 nederlag. Mine damer og herrer, fra Louisiana, USA, Uilll McIntyre!
And introducing first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trunks with red trim and hailing from Covington, Louisiana in the United States. He weighed in at 167.5 pounds. His record stands at 29 wins, 2 losses, with 13 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked the number 9 contender by the WBO. Introducing the challenger, Will Kid Fire McIntyre.
Og herovre bag mig i det røde hjørne, mine damer og herrer, den regerende champion. Han vejer nøjagtigt som sin modstander 76,3 kilo, omregnet til 168 pund. Hans rekordliste er fantastisk. 31 kampe, 31 sejre, og heraf de 26 vundet på knockout. Fra Newbridge, den regerende verdensmester, Joe Kальзагhe.
And ladies and gentlemen, across the rings, the defending world champion fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trunks with white trim, hailing from Newbridge, South Wales. He weighed in the same as his opponent, 167.5 pounds. His outstanding record stands at 31 wins, no losses, 26 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight he is making the 9th defense of his title. Please welcome the undefeated WBO Super Middleweight Champion of the World, Joe Kальзагhe. And once again, a referee in charge, Rudy Battle, now to give instructions.
97th world title fight tonight for Rudy Battle of Philadelphia.
Okay, gentlemen, you both received your pre-fight instructions. I expect a clean break at all times. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Belt looks good. Good luck to both of you. Touch gloves. All right, thank you.
Battle, who's refereed Tyson, Holyfield, Foreman, just about all the big names in a long career. Calzaghe won in 112 seconds last time out in Cardiff against the German Mario Fight. Will he do something similar here to this fighter who's been given this surprise chance at the title, Will McIntyre? Unhelpfully, both of them in black, but you can't miss McIntyre, the man with the red hair. Both have seen the other on video. And McIntyre acknowledges Calzaghe's strength not only as a boxer, but as a puncher too. Been the champion now for 4 years. Beat Chris Eubank, flooring him in the first 50 seconds that night. McIntyre usually likes to walk forward. 129 out of 31, but frankly hasn't beaten anybody much.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see if he tries to come forward against Calzaghe, knowing the power that Calzaghe carries in those fists. You know what makes Calzaghe so good is, you know, he's so fast, hits so hard. He's also a southpaw, which is so awkward, makes him, you know, such a good fighter.
Can McIntyre cause any problems? A couple of good left hands there from Calzaghe. McIntyre's never been stopped in his career. Both his defeats to Omar Sheikha and Dana Rosenblatt were on points. Elvis Presley used to say the alligators grow real mean in Louisiana. How mean are the fighters, though? Quiet start from Calzaghe. Just taking a look, I think. Good body shots from Calzaghe. McIntyre will be realising quite soon that he's moving up here about 3 divisions in one go. Uppercuts as well from Calzaghe.
Well, already he's seen some of the variety, some of the hand speed that Calzaghe has.
There's another big one through to the head. He's hurt by that. McIntyre wanted to cover up straight away. Needing that durability, left himself open, tried to come out of the shell, tagged by a left hand for his trouble. And Calzaghe here, starting to let the punches rain. McIntyre in trouble here in the opening round. The class gap is showing. This is the real world at World Championship level that McIntyre is finding out about here. Needs to fire something back soon, McIntyre.
Well, what a barrage of punches that was from Joe Calzaghe. You don't see that very often at this level, really teeing off with so many combinations.
After some problems in his career with injuries, 1 or 2 other things maybe behind the scenes, he's come out of that period and he looks at the peak of his confidence, Calzaghe, at the moment.
Well, he looks very good. The left hand's getting through, especially the uppercut of Calzaghe's.
Impressive opening round from the defending champion from Newbridge in South Wales. And it's every bit as tough a night's work as Will Kid Fire McIntyre thought it might be. He's got a bit of damage.
You can't wait for 1 punch at a time. You made him look ordinary at the beginning of the round, and then you stop in front of him, then punch.
Main trainer in there is Jimbo Stevenson, who used to have Anthony Stevens, who did quite well against Felix Trinidad.
Together. Fight this guy, goddammit. You hear me when I'm telling you? You're letting me.
Well, they're really trying to G him up and get him to fight, but it's not them taking these sort of punches. And the amount of punches that Calzaghe threw, he really let go. There's obviously no problems with fitness, no problems with confidence. He let a tremendous amount of punches go in that opening round, and he didn't really have an answer, McIntyre. Great variety, body and head, uppercuts, lefts and rights, really mixing it up.
Second round. Calzaghe looked fairly close to a stoppage in the first. Big step up. Calzaghe, Britain's longest reigning world champion. His first fight, by the way, outside Britain as a pro, this one tonight. And his next one could be outside Britain as well, in the United States. That's the plan. Another left hand seemed to just disorientate McIntyre for a moment as it landed around the side of the head. Calzaghe mixing them up to head and body.
Well, he's really showing his class here. Looks a good operator, Calzaghe, changing the punches around, just trying to find the holes, the openings in the defenses of McIntyre.
Calzaghe hasn't lost a fight since he was 18, and he's 29 now. That was in the European Junior Championships against a Romanian. That was also the last time he fought outside the British Isles. Now, has McIntyre got anything with which to trouble Calzaghe? Joe has quite a lot going for him. He can be susceptible to right hands. Some say he slaps a little at times, but his chin is sensationally good, usually. He's got fast hands, he's heavy-handed, and he can box a bit too, so it's quite an impressive package all round.
Yes, it is, and I think that's why he's staying unbeaten for such a long time. He really is very good. The speed that he throws punches at is tremendous.
Holding on the inside there. McIntyre being told not to by referee Rudy Battle, and Calzaghe fires a few punches as he gets some room. Calzaghe will be expected to stop this fellow, won't he?
Yes, he will be. But you know, it's hard for McIntyre. What's going through his mind at this moment? What have I got to do? How do I stop these punches? How do I get mine off?
at the moment, he looks at a loss to know how to do that. Calzaghe's portfolio of wins starting to look quite impressive. He's been around quite a while now. There's another good right hand to the body. Not as one-sided as the first, but pretty one-sided.
Fabulous work. Fabulous work. Work behind the jab, set your feet, right?
This is that Enzo, a real character in the corner, who's actually written a few songs with you, hasn't he?
Yeah, we've done that a little bit. He's very, very musical. Enzo, he's a great character, loves his body, such a fit guy as well.
Maybe you can come back here for the Eurovision Song Contest, which I had in the stadium a few months ago.
Actually, I'll probably do. As long as they don't ask me to sing.
He's a Sardinian Enzo. There's with his back shoes, that's Ernie Fossey, the cut man. He's been around this business forever. Not much he doesn't know.
Jab, right? Don't search, right? Straight A's first, then come the short.
Father and son teams, some say it doesn't really work, but it does work for these two. No doubt about it. Third round.
Round 3.
I suppose the problem for Calzaghe is not to become impatient and to start rushing his work, just to pick the punches.
Yes, well, I think that's what he's tried to do in the second round. First round, he just went out, trying to blast him out, threw all the punches. Didn't work, so he settled in it down more, looking to pick the punches better.
Lovely left uppercut from Calzaghe, disguised it well too. Look at that as well, rocking the head back of McIntyre. For whom at the moment this looks a bridge too far. Maybe a bit early to say that, who knows? He may settle into this. There may be other phases in the fight, maybe.
Well, they do look distances apart in caliber here. Calzaghe looking superb.
Has to be said at the moment, it looks like a classic horse against a handicapper. No head movement from McIntyre, makes him easy to hit with the jab, and he's not jabbing himself either, so there's no really way in for him either. Calzaghe's beating him to everything.
Yes, at this point, no way in, no way out. He can't move his head. He really is getting punished out there.
And Calzaghe hits pretty hard too, even with those jabs. He's getting marked up, McIntyre. Some uppercuts as well. He's just starting to break him up, I think.
Well, he's taking an awful lot of punches. That's a hurtful jab that he's taking. The uppercut, superb, really is just teeing off on him.
See, there was talk that Calzaghe was going to fight the big puncher Antoine Etches as he lands with another left uppercut. That fight didn't happen, and McIntyre got the call. But he might be starting to wish he hadn't got it, the way things are developing here.
Break, let him go. Let him go, step out. Hands up.
At the moment, Calzaghe is just working him over, isn't he?
Oh, completely. Just really giving him a lesson in there. The jab working excellently. You know, there's no head movement, and now he's
hurt now. Left uppercut all over the place. Doesn't know where he is. Should he be allowed to go on here, Will McIntyre? Surely not. Goes to 8. Oh, he says he wants to fight on. He wants to fight on. It's a near miraculous recovery. He asked him to walk, but there McIntyre showed enormous bravery. But that left uppercut had him really way separated from his senses, and I'm not really sure that he even should have been allowed to go on. Thank goodness the bell came that soon from his point of view.
Well, Ian, I must be honest, I don't think he should be allowed to go on from here. He went back, took an awful long time to sit down. He is brave. It's a fighter's natural instinct to want to fight on. That is the heart of these people, but yeah, he needs to be pulled out.
He's way out of his depth, isn't he?
well, he's going to get punished. He's going to have to take shots that he shouldn't take. This guy is not in this league. He shouldn't be allowed to continue.
Here's the punch, and that's the angle of it. They're having a close look meanwhile as you look at that. Rudy Battle's having a look at McIntyre in his corner. And he is going to fight on. This is the tremendous shot coming up. Oh, look at that.
Fjerde omgang, round 4.
Amazed that he was allowed to continue. But he was. Here's round 4. But you heard him say, yep, I want to go on. I want to go on.
Well, there's not many fighters that will say, no, I quit. It's not in their nature. And that's where the corner, the referee's there to protect the fighter. He's getting, really badly beaten in there. What's he going to do? These are all unnecessary punches.
And there's another one of them. 2 more, in fact. He got him with a shot of his own there. Brave boy. But he goes down again, and this time it's waved off. He won't be allowed to continue. No count this time. Stopped. And all over in round 4. Calzaghe retains the title, and he was never in a moment's bother against an opponent who frankly was not good enough to be in the same ring as him, and probably shouldn't have been.
No, he shouldn't have been. Certainly that shouldn't have been allowed. He took another 5 or 6 punches that he shouldn't. If his corner had any sense whatsoever, if they cared about their man, they didn't. He's a brave boy, but I mean, that's not the point. He shouldn't have to take them shots. Joe Kawasaki was a class above. He was really, really excellent in there.
He did what he had to do against an opponent 3-4 leagues below him. Could not have done it more impressively. And what do you think the American audience will have made of him there?
I think they'll be excited. Anybody who's that accurate, throws combinations like that, they've got to be impressed. There's big fights out there. We've got to see him in some of them.
Well, Eric Lucar, WBC champion, David Reed, those two are being lined up for his American debut, according to the boss of the American TV company Showtime, Jay Larkin. And he says they're easy fights to make, so it should happen next.
It should happen, and that's what he deserves. He deserves to be centre stage. He deserves to be the big draw. He's proven himself year after year.
He's just too good for them at the moment. And Britain really should make a little more of this very talented fighter.
Did you
think he was going to come out for the 4th round?
I thought, well,
He's just talking to the local publicity people there, but Joe Calzaghe is still the WBO super middleweight champion.
That's where it is, kill.
Okay, let's have a look at how he did it again.
Well, there's that straight left hand. He still switching it up, still knows where to throw the punches. And then the uppercut, which works so well. He's so accurate. When you've got to fight a hurt, a guy like Joe Kальзаге is not going to make any mistakes. He's so accurate.
Rudy Battle waves him away and says, no, I know you'd fight on and fight on forever because you're a brave boy. But he's not going to allow him to do that, and that's the referee's job.
Well, it was a beautiful left hand, really was, that first punch. That was the one that took everything out of McIntyre. He still wanted to go on. He's still got fight in him, but you can't allow him to take more punishment.
You have to ask the question really about how he managed to get the fight in the first place. I couldn't really, looking at his record, see that he was qualified.
Well, no, probably not. I mean, he's only got 2 losses in 31 fights. He's WBO ranked number 9.
But he hadn't beaten anybody.
No, nobody of note. But I mean, who in there is really going to... I don't think there's anybody in that division going to give Joe Kальзаге that much of a fight. I really think he's that good.
Well, I'd like to see him in with Antoine Etchels, who was in a real up-and-downer with Charles Brewer, the former IBF champion, a real puncher. I think Calzaghe beat him. I think he'd beat them all, frankly, as super middleweight.
I mean, the mandatory content last time Mario fight was taken out in 1 round, so he's proven it. He's beaten the people that should be there with him.
There's Byron Mitchell, of course, the WBA champion, who struggled the other day.
Ja, mine damer og herrer, vi har fået tiden. Efter 35 sekunders boksning i 4. omgang. Vinder på teknisk knockout. Og stadig verdensmester, Joe Kальзаге. And
ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 35 seconds in round number 4. Our referee in charge,
35
Rudy Battle,
seconds
stops the
into the
contest.
fourth round.
The winner by way of technical knockout. He is still undefeated and still the WBO super middleweight champion of the world, Joe Calzaghe.
But he does need that defining fight now against one of the bigger names. Joe Calzaghe, who first started in boxing when he started hitting a speedball at the age of 9. Family man, father of 3 from Newbridge. And his wife Bandy's here as well. And they can celebrate tonight. In a moment we're going to hear from Joe with Jim Gray, who's in there somewhere. Well, I hope we are anyway. Essentially a shy man. Not used to the PR, but he's getting better at it. He's got these film star looks as well. He really ought to take off as a charismatic figure and somebody that the British public should get behind, particularly with Lennox Lewis and Nassim Hamed under something of a cloud at the moment. Calzaghe feels that he is the man, and he did nothing in there tonight really to dissuade anybody from that point of view. I suppose the possibility of fighting Roy Jones somewhere down the line exists as well, the great light heavyweight, but there are a lot of difficulties about making that fight concerning American television, namely that Calzaghe's allied to one company and Jones to the other one. Otherwise, it could be a bit of a cracker. Not a mark on him in there. Frank Warren will be pleased as well. His commodity, if I can put it that way, continues the winning streak. His record now is 32-0. And if you're wondering why we're waiting for the interview with Joe Calzaghe, well, we are on the time scale of our American colleagues. That's the slight delay. Mandy's in the ring as well now, his wife. Kiss for father-in-law. And for Joe, I hope, somewhere along the line. But it's good for him tonight that the USA will have seen exactly what he can do. I think he has featured about 5 times before. Unfortunately, last time he fought on a Tyson bill was against David Starr. It was an awful fight. Styles didn't gel. He won it, but it was a yawn of a fight. But he's really picked up his form since then. Meanwhile, backstage, as we wait for Joe Calzaghe to have a word, there's Mike Tyson. Hard to read his mind at any time.
You're never going to second guess Mike Tyson there. He looks comfortable enough. You know, this is really his time. You know, he likes being in the ring. He likes doing his thing.
And I don't think he feels too much of a threat from Nielsen. But is there a shock in store? We'll see. Meanwhile, Joe Calzaghe awaits a chance to do an interview for our American colleagues. So Brian Nielsen is appearing on the big screens here in the arena. You're hearing the screen shouting around the arena. They've seen Nielsen on the screen. They're seeing the pictures you're seeing at home. And he's getting a huge reception. Super Brian, they call him in Denmark. It's kind of like Denmark's Frank Bruno. Big, strong ox of a man, but not noted for avoiding punches or for a great defense. But he is strong. He's only been on the floor once in 174 contests, amateur and pro. This is the fight he says he's always dreamed about. Former milkman and butcher, Brian Nielsen. Meanwhile, back in the ring, here's Joe Calzaghe with Jim Gray.
Joe, that was pretty easy work tonight. In fact, Bobby commented that you were kind of kind by not hitting him. Was it just total mismatch?
Well, basically, I have to give respect to Kid McIntyre. I give him a lot of credit for actually coming to the fight, show a lot of courage. A lot of opponents pulled out this fight. So I thank him for coming over and you know, having a chance and having a go to try and win the world title. But I'm the best in the world. I've proved it again and again. I am the best fighter at super middleweight. I want Roy Jones. And I want Bernard Hopkins. He wants to looking for a fight. Hey, I'm ready. Bring it up to super middleweight and let's get Bernard Hopkins. That'll be a great fight. You've heard of Jolin Joe in America. I'm the new Jolin.
You ready to come to America and fight your first fight there?
Yeah, most definitely. I think you can see tonight. I got all the class. I got the punching power. I've got the boxing skills. I'm just ready to take America by storm.
You have had, Joe, some problems with injuries, the flu, certain ailments. Can you maintain now this level that we've seen tonight and stay healthy and be able to fight some opponents? It's really not your fault that you haven't had any quality opponents, but can you now step up and fight some people and maintain your health? Yeah, well, I disagree. I think Omar Sheikha was a good opponent, and I think Richie Willow was a good opponent. Mario Veit was 30-0. I knocked him out in the first round. I just make them look bad. I think credit is there for how good I actually am. They're good fighters. I'm just exceptional, and I'm ready to prove that on the big stage against another exceptional fighter in Roy Jones or Bernard Hopkins. And if you can't get one of them, what will it be? Eric Lucas or David Reed? Frank's here. Frank's promoter.
David Reed or Eric Lucas or unify the titles. You know, Joe's beaten a lot of, you know, beaten some former world champions. He beaten Robin Reed. Richie Woodall was a WBC champion, and he beat him in style. And he just needs a big fight, and we're looking for a big fight. Bernard Hopkins, I think, is a big fight up there. He's lost the Trinidad fight. He says he doesn't want to fight Roy Jones. He'll fight Joe Calzaghe.
Finally, Joe, it was an awful nice touch of you to wear a New York Yankees hat into the ring tonight. I'm sure the people back in America appreciate that.
Yeah, God bless everybody, and thank God for still being world champion. And I hope in the future I will stay injury-free and come over and entertain in the States.
Congratulations, Frank. Thank you. Back to you, Steve.
And he even managed a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the new improved Joe Calzaghe. Thoughts on that from Nicky, Jim and Barry when we come back. The main attraction is getting closer now.
He's back, the one and only Mike Tyson.
So here is the WBO World Super Middleweight Champion. Ian Darke is now waiting to talk to him for us.
Well, Joe, you really did a number on him tonight. He just wasn't in your league, was he?
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit for coming over and fighting. A lot of opponents didn't want this fight. Obviously, you know, seeing my last few performances. So I give him all the credit in the world. You know, in the manner in which I beat him, I think is more testament to my skills rather than how bad he was. At the end of the day, he's never been stopped. You know, we've lost twice to world-class fighters on points. But basically, hand speed did the trick as usual, and a lot of courage to stay there for the fourth. I think the referee should have stopped the fight at the end of the third, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, he was a brave lad. You said something to the referee at the end of that third round when you landed that tremendous sort of left uppercut.
Well, basically...
What did you say?
Well, basically, I said stop the fight because you could tell the way he went down, you know, the legs were gone. I could see in his eyes. It was a simultaneous beating. I was giving him the jabs, it was splitting his face up. And basically, he couldn't touch me. You know, there was no chance. He was too slow, totally outclassed. And the last thing I want to do in the boxing ring is hurt an opponent.
American debut next. I heard you talking to our American colleague saying you want to fight Bernard Hopkins, who's just become a superstar, beating Felix Trinidad. Can that really happen? He's a middleweight, you're super middleweight, going up to light heavy by the sound of things.
Well, basically, Roy Jones is hiding, so the thing is, what we have to do, Bernard Hopkins is the undisputed middleweight champion. He's looking for big fights. I think I've proven to the world now that I'm definitely the real super middleweight champion, and unless I can get a unification fight, then obviously a fight with Bernard Hopkins I think is an obvious fight to put together.
All right, thanks for talking to us, Joe. Well done tonight, very good stuff.
That's very good stuff during the fight and after it, isn't it?
Yeah, he's getting better, isn't he, with his interviews. He's still a little bit overconfident for my liking, but he's getting more generous.
It's part of the business, you know that, Nicky.
Part of the business. But I thought his performance tonight was very, very good. Firstly, I'd just like to say the referee and the corner I thought were right out of order, allowing him to come out for the fourth round there, McIntyre. I thought he had no chance. We all knew he had no chance, and rightly enough, he was stopped within a minute. But
Jim, Calzaghe's display for you?
Well, I think Joe showed us everything that he's got tonight. The accuracy, the speed, the power, the variety of punches, everything that he's got in his arsenal, he brought with him tonight. And and it even showed us a nice side which I hadn't seen before. At this point here, he actually points to the referee, stop this fight, I don't want to hit this guy anymore. The job was done. Joe knew the job was done at that stage, and he just wanted to stop hitting this guy. He'd shown everybody how good he is. He'd shown everyone he's in a different league from this guy. The job was done, so get this kid out of here. It was a nice sight we saw.
Barry?
I thought he was extremely magnanimous. I don't think he was cocky. I think he was great. He's a much improved PR. His fighting was what we expected. He was right on the ball. He dominated from the very start. His punches were good. These little clusters up close to get his opponent away were, you know, a little untidy, as we've said in the past. But what they do is they give him room to land his hard shots, gets his opponent off him, then he can land with real power. He's a hard, solid puncher. This was a really impressive performance, and he can now move on to a different level. Hopkins is out there, Eric Luca, Byron Mitchell. There are a number of big fights for him, and he can really shine, and he can take it and grasp the nettle.
There you are, Nicky. The message got through to them. It's not that bad when you go away from home, is it?
Oh, it's easy. Always was. No, it was always a fight Joe Kальzаге was going to win. I said 1 round, almost did it, but he did it in style, and that's the most important thing. That's where they'll all be relieved there. They're not too relieved because it was going to be a hard fight.
I think perhaps we should just remember, Jim, that sometimes it's not the opponent, but it's the size of the opportunity that creates relief.
That's right. Joe's boxing in front of the world now. I mean, the arena that they actually put him in is secondary now. And he used that. He had a perfect opponent. OK, McIntyre wasn't top drawer, but we knew before the fight he wasn't top drawer. But he'd gone the distance with Rosenblatt. He'd never been stopped before.
That's the point.
And as you watched him in the first few rounds, he knew his way around the ring. And Joe took his time, just worked away, didn't do anything silly, ground him down and just punched all the fight out of him.
It goes down as a big win for Calzaghe. No upset there. Brian Nielsen gets his moment in the spotlight next. And what a dream.